Hello, hello. Welcome to Revive for Women, the conversation and connections. I'm Stephanie Herb, and we are here today with Ceri Payne of Organized Life Coach. Super excited to talk with her. Just in case you're like, what is going on? The purpose of this is to gather women. I'm a big believer in the strength and the support that women give each other, especially not even just in this pandemic time, but that is even more essential now, but just in general, we buoy each other, we lift each other. And especially when we're feeling down or we're kind of, just in a hole, we need help sometimes reaching out and getting out. And that's one of the purposes here, is to give ideas of how other women have learned to revive and gotten themselves out of the overwhelm of life, of motherhood often. And so Revive for Women is a place for inspirations and gatherings for women to revive their purpose, passion, connections, and best self. So with that, I want to introduce Ceri Payne, who I'm super excited about, who's been in a whole bunch of podcasts lately, which I've loved listening to. You have so much power. You're dynamic. I love it. So tell us about you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So I am the mother of 3 teenage daughters. I had taught special education for many years. And while I was teaching in 2018, I became a certified life coach as well. And so just this year, though, I quit teaching school full-time so that I could work on my business. And so my business is where I help women just kind of create a balanced life without having to sacrifice like the relationships, their sleep, their own goals, their health. And I just really enjoy helping women design and just like create plans and schedules so that they can streamline their homes, streamline their businesses, so that they can just really achieve all of their goals in life that they want to achieve.
I love it. And as I said, you've been on a lot of podcasts the last couple of months, and especially during this pandemic, right? The social distance, and some of the pointers that you have given have been so helpful. And actually, I wanted to bring up one thing, and it was, you were speaking with Monica Packer of About Progress. Love her, love that podcast. One of my favorite points that you made was how you were raised early on with like doing a whole bunch of things before school, right?
Yeah.
And so you had those expectations of all these chores, all these things to do, even before you really even get started in the morning for school, which blows my mind. And how you were trying to implement that and finally realized the relationships, let alone yourself, were suffering through that. And so you had to look at that and be like, what am I doing? What is more important here? And you end up choosing relationships over chores, learning even sometimes, or even the service, because you say you're very service driven, which is great, but at what cost? The service you were trying to render others was hurting the relationship with your own kids as you shuttled them out the door really quickly, right? So why don't you speak on that?
Right.
I loved how you focused, you changed your focus on relationships. And why don't you just tell us how that happened, if you would, please?
Say that again. Sorry, you cut out on my side.
For a second. I said, for a moment, would you just explain how you were able to realize that, you know what, I might be doing all these to-do lists, but I'm hurting the relationships. I'm hurting my connection with those that I care for most along the way. How did you decide, how did you identify and therefore make that change?
Yeah, I think I talked a little bit about this in the podcast, but I think it's like I just really realized like what was more important. And is in the podcast, the story that I use is I was making dinner for another family, but like I was turning into this monster, like yelling at this kid to do this. The one kid was like carrying the bread and squishing the bread. And I just, at the end of the day, when you see these little sleeping babies, I just realized, man, like all of this service is making me kind of mean and angrier than I need to be. Or I'm like shoveling them out of the kitchen and get out, hurry up. We got to go deliver dinner. And so I just realized that's not who I wanted to be for myself, but also it's not how I wanted to show up as service for my kids. They're like, oh no, mom's doing service again. She's going to be a big monster or whatever.
Out of her way, out of her way.
Yeah, I wanted them to find the joy in service and to, and just be calm and peaceful. So it was hard, and it killed me to not sign up for service or to not be part of stuff when like a clipboard went around or people were asking for help. But I just realized like the most impact I could have is just showing up the way I wanted to be as a mom in my home. And then if I could do that, then I do service. So I still do tons. I probably do more. It's just that I choose to do it in the way that I want to do it, in the way that's impactful for me and helpful for them. And so I don't know. I don't really know how. I just
Oh, you just
not need to be a reason to make me angry.
I love that you decided to do it in the way that works for you. And that is a blessing for your family as well as other people. With that, let me ask you, and sometimes we are cutting out a little bit, but pretty much is fine. When, okay, we evolve through our lives clearly, as do our purpose and passions. So tell me, what do you believe your purpose and passions are in this at this time, and if it's evolved and how it's evolved? It's kind of a big question.
Yeah. So I believe like my purpose is still, even though I realize all these things about me, my purpose is still like organization, efficiency, and doing them well. But I think what we just touched on, I'm glad you asked me that, is because I do those things like efficiency and organization from a place of love now and from a place of wanting to, and not from that place of like, I should do it or comparison that other people don't and I should and I do or I don't, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I really love, my purpose is just really helping women achieve their passions and their purpose, but without like the overwhelming guilt that comes from that. Because I really want women to just love their lives and I want them to live it with intention too. And so I just show them how it's possible for them to do everything they want to do as long as they just prioritize and they plan it, that they can do it. And also my biggest thing is to help women see like the value of themselves, to really step into their confidence and to just believe in themselves so that they can accomplish what they came here to do. I believe we came here to earth to do lots of things and not just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really want to empower them to believe that they can, you know, be a good wife and a good mom and a good, you know, whatever, business owner or singer or, you know, just whatever, that we can do more than just one thing on this earth and be effective at all of them.
Oh my goodness, that was packed. I love it. I love how we didn't come here for just one thing. We came here for lots of things and to help women see the value of themselves. I am big on that. This is kind of off the cuff, but how would you recommend women, big question here, to see the value of themselves when you're coaching your clients? How is that? How do you even begin to help women see the value of themselves?
Well, a lot of it, you know, we were born with the value that we have, like we just came that way. And I do believe in God. And so a lot of the women that I coach also do. And so we just kind of realize, you know, we are children of God. So right there, we have the value. But then what we do is we really explore what that self-thinking, what our negative self-talk is. Where do we diminish our value? Where do we devalue ourselves? And lots of times we don't even know that we think that way. Like I work with a lot of people that are super like effective, they're efficient, they're amazing, they're influencers, they're making an impact in this world, but they have this underlining negative self-talk that like if you were to see them, you think that they were like confident,
Right.
and they probably feel confident most of the time, but there's just these little things that are going down underneath where we think like we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, like our husbands are better, they make more money, so maybe I should just stay home, or you know, just like little subtle things that it's like, why, if they can have it, why can't you? And it may look differently, right? Like we may not ever be the 60-hour work person that's making millions of dollars. We might be, but we can still have the same feelings as like maybe our spouse does, as far as like being effective, being efficient, putting something out in the world, being productive, like making a mark. Our mark can be different, and it could just be at home with our kids,
Right.
and it may be out doing something else. So a lot of my clients think they want to do something bigger or be out in the world because they're not super maybe satisfied in their home life, but sometimes really I help them figure out they are truly satisfied. It's exactly what they wanted. And then just learning that they get to have those feelings in their motherhood. And maybe it isn't to need some outside validation if they learn to be confident in their selves and their choices.
Can you be my coach? You are great. I love it. Well, because find value in what they're doing and getting inside of like, okay, not, you mentioned not competing with other people, not comparing yourself with other people. What is it that I find value in? And that's going to look different than my husband. That's going to look different than anybody else. And okay, so this is what I value. And then finding, okay, so what is that, what makes me fulfilled, and kind of just being able to identify and articulate that for the women has got to be such a blessing for them. But you are so you're so good at this. I'm curious, when did this develop? Has this always been a part of you, this passion to help others like identify, their values and feel valued in that way? Or, and this seems like such a purpose for you, how or when did this develop?
Um, so probably a long story, but I'll try to make it short.
Okay.
I think what it did is I just never stopped dreaming. I never stopped hoping. And I think that's the key, especially for moms, because we kind of feel like, oh, well, now I've had these kids, or now I've done this, I can't do this. And we stop
Right.
dreaming, we stop hoping. So
Right.
like, even when I had like 3 kids in 3 years and I had them in 3 different states,
Yeah. You moved
even when
around
we
a lot.
moved, we did. We moved like 18 times in 16 years, but I still had dreams for me alongside of motherhood. And they didn't always like look like this, but just like, you know what, I'm going to sign up for a half marathon. And so that was just a little thing that obviously I did that took time away from my motherhood, time away from my kids, but just dreaming that I can still have something that maybe motivates me or something
Yeah.
that I want to achieve. So I taught school back like in, I think 99 and 2000. And then like I took a break for a while. And that's when, let's see, so I took a break, but in 2003, I had a 10-month-old and I was pregnant with another one. And that's when I finally got my master's degree. And because we had moved out of state, and so that made it difficult for me to take classes in person. So I had to petition the university and I had to find out, like creatively find a way for me to take these last few classes remotely. And that was like before online programs existed back then.
Yeah.
And so like I turned stuff in with videotape and fax machine. And it was crazy, but the gist of it all is like, just, I guess I'm saying, don't stop dreaming and stop finding what are those little tiny things that you can do to fulfill the way you want to. Like I kept my teaching certification up, even though I didn't know or think I would go back to school, but I had to keep taking credits in order to keep the certification up. And so when I was taking these college credits, I took some in, I always thought I wanted to get a PhD in psychology, in testing, assessment, or organizational psychology. So those classes I took them in that area, just so that I was taking these small steps down the path that I wanted to take. So that's what I, tell moms is like, just don't lose yourself completely. Just find out what is that feeling that you would mention that you want to feel, and how can you just find little glimpses of that? Because maybe you aren't in the position where you're going to go to school full time, or maybe, I wasn't going to go get a PhD when my kids were 2, 3, and 4. I could have, but I chose not to. But what could I still do to make me feel like I was helping and impacting people and myself in the way that I wanted to?
That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Right there is just huge, because what I'm hearing from you is, yes, you had every reason to be like, oh gosh, I have 2.5 kids already in just a short amount of time. And I can just stop right here. Because like, that is reason enough to just lay low and frankly survive for most women. But you were like, no, I love how you said small steps down the path you want, of just like, you know what, maybe I'm choosing not to do everything right now, but it doesn't mean I can't do anything. So with your kids at home, you were, even before online school was there, you were making it happen. That is huge. And I want to put that out there for the women who are just feeling low, feeling like, I don't even know where to go. I don't even, trying to revive those hopes and those dreams and those goals that they have. Like, how do I even start? It just starts with one small, tiny little step, one small little action to revive yourself. Or if you've lost yourself, like you said, it sounded like you didn't get to the point of losing yourself because you kept something alongside motherhood, which is so important. We are whole people. We're mothers, but we're also women, and we need to continue with our own passions, our own dreams. And so thank you for sharing that. I'm going to shift gears on you here real fast. And you sound so, like, honestly, you sound so confident, so self-assured, and so determined. Was there a time, there's got to be times, let us in, to when you have felt like there's obstacles that are like pretty monumental, and how in the world did you get around that? Like having tiny kids in a couple of years and taking these classes, how did you do that?
Well, like, of course I doubt myself. I mean, I still do. I think all of us do. That's natural. Like, I have thoughts like it will be too hard, or I'm not smart enough, or it will cost too much money, or I won't get the results that I really want from that X, Y, and Z, or what if I fail? And for me, I overcome these thoughts by telling myself the truth. Like, it might be hard, but I can do it. Right? I might not be the smartest one in the room, but I can figure it out, or I can ask someone to help me figure it out. Right. And so when I notice these little thoughts sneaking in, like no one will want to hear what I have to say, I can say, well, yeah, of course, not everyone will, but the people that hear me will be the people that I want to help. And so I think for all of us, just to overcome our doubt, we have to recognize those thoughts that are inside of us And then we have to decide, like, are they ones that are keeping us growing? Are they propelling us, moving us forward? Or are they thoughts that are like allowing us to provide excuses of why we aren't doing something and when we want to do it? So again, like self-doubt, it creeps in. Everyone, it still creeps into me. But that's the process that I use to really help me find my courage, my drive to keep making movements towards the direction of growth. Because, you know, lots of things are scary and we want to talk ourselves out of that growth all the time.
Yeah, because
So,
it's easier. Our brain says it's easier for us to, you're right, that is hard. I don't want to do hard things. I'm just going to stay here where it's safe and comfortable. But like what you said of overcoming the, I told you I have a bad memory, I have to write things down. Overcoming these thoughts by telling the truth. It almost sounds to me, what I hear from myself is when my emotions are screaming in my brain, like, this is hard, it scares me, I'm going to be uncomfortable, and what if I fail? To tell the emotions to hold on for a moment and let's think about this logically. Like you use the example, no one will want to hear what I have to say. Well, you know what? You're right. Not everybody is going to relate to that, but there are some people. So you're trying to step aside objectively and be like, well, you're right to some degree. However, the truth is da 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 da. And so it's like logic is raising its hand and telling emotions to just hold on. Let's think about this. Those emotions, it's women like myself that is really helpful, very helpful. So
well, thanks.
yeah, thank you. Okay, so tell me how, even before this crazy social distancing started, how did you find connection, or what does connection look like to you? And then how are you continuing it now?
So I think connection for me is just service. Like I enjoy helping people. I enjoy making people's lives easier. I always look for ways to help and serve people, but I'm also very aware that it looks different for me now different for me now than it did even maybe like 5 years ago. So always kind of taking a self-assessment of like, how can I serve in this time? Because we all have our different times or different seasons when we're able to do more, maybe we're able to do less or be creative. And so this is no other time. It's fun. We get to be creative in how we can help serve. Right? Some people are sewing masks. Some people are just writing letters. Some people are, for me, I've just been offering my help on podcasts, helping people do that. So that's definitely a service. Would I have thought that that was what my life would look like 2 years ago? Absolutely not. I thought I would be, you know, like baking bread and sewing masks or whatever. And so it's just noticing like, where can you provide service and provide value, and where do you enjoy doing it? Like, I do think, you know, service should stretch us and it should grow us, but also like, where's your like zone of genius? Like, why not put that out in the world? You know, I work with a client that's like a musician, and her organization isn't her like forte, but she's over here trying to organize some things for some people. It's just really causing a lot. I'm like, stick to your zone. Like, you could write a song for this family. You could play for this family. You could, you know, those are, and it doesn't mean that we don't grow and stretch, but I'm saying like, in the hard times or when you are stressed, like where can you serve quickly, easily, effective, efficiently, and still like help them and help you, help your family. And so just noticing what you can do in this time, it might just be writing on someone's sidewalk with chalk, right? Or sending a letter or whatever. But there's always ways to make people's lives better, even when we're super busy.
I like that. Just focusing on our strengths, our natural talents. And yes, I like that you said we need to stretch ourselves. Like, again, get out of that comfort zone. That's really significant to me and clearly for you. But we are given innate talents and skills. And of course we can develop more, but like what you said, your friend is doing, you know, that's great that she's trying over here, but goodness gracious, she's so talented in this direction. How about bless other people that way? You know,
Right. I'm like, let me handle this. I'll get all the ducks in a row and you go do your thing, because I certainly can't sing and entertain people. Right. So it's like so it's kind of like you can do your service where it's your strength. It doesn't mean, like I said, that we don't stretch ourselves.
Right.
But what if your service was only, you know, there's people in like church communities that are very musical. And so they're constantly leading the music or playing the piano or singing. And they're like, I'm like, they're always like, I'm always doing it. And I'm like, yeah, because people like us can't.
Right.
But I can call you and ask you to do it and make sure it's happening. So it's like just being aware of your strengths and being okay to have that be your area of service.
Exactly. I like that. So we're going to start wrapping up because you've said so many good things, but I am curious, on a weekly or even a daily basis, can you give some examples of something that you tell yourself or remind yourself to be the better Ceri, to be the better person that you can?
So I have a couple things. So I think because of this conversation, I thought of a mantra that I use, and it's never let fear decide your future.
I love
And
it.
you could probably put fear, a different word in there, right? Never let scarcity, never let uncomfortable, willing to feel uncomfortable, like whatever your thing is that's keeping you, never let that decide your future. And just another thing that I think like a mantra, it's not really a mantra, but something that I've always thought is that I have plenty of time for everything that I prioritize.
Yes.
And I think believing that has really helped me on my journey to discovering my purpose and passion, just because I don't think that there's not enough time for it all. But what I do is I prioritize it, and I just really believe that if there's time, that I can do that.
Okay. I've heard you mention about prioritizing about 3 things a day. Is that kind of your go-to with your clients, or was that, tell me about that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
So yeah, like I take people through, I kind of like meet them where they're at, right? And if they're just really overwhelmed and have nothing, I'm like, hey, let's just do like 3 things for this day. What are the top 3 things you want to do? And so I really help my clients decide what their priorities are and what they want out of life. And then what we do is then figure out what are the action lines for those. So let's say it is like their priority is health. Then it's like, what are 3 little things that you can do every day? So if I was like peeking in your house through your windows, I can say, oh, I can see health is important to her. So it may just be like intentional movement, or drinking a certain amount of water, or having like your fruit and vegetable at every meal, whatever your health looks like for you, your journey, whether it's to lose weight, stay healthy, get stronger, if it's lifting weights. Then if I'm peeking in, what are those actions that I can go, oh, health is important to her, I can tell. And so lots of times what we forget to do is identify the actions. So like relationships are important to us, our kids are important to us. So what are we doing? Are we like eating breakfast with them? Are we reading them a story at night? Are we texting them? Like whatever that action is. But the beauty is, then you get, at the end of the day, get to be like, hey, I did my things.
Yes.
We don't go to bed going, did I do enough? Did I select that? Did I, and all the things that our head spins. It's like, nope, I did my 3 things. Like, I know that I did that. And then that's kind of like the baby of it all.
Right.
And then as we start to get down that road and really make commitments, keep commitments, know that we can trust, then we can plan it and prioritize it a little bit more. Then we start with a couple of different things.
I like that. You broke up a little bit. Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So starting with the 3 things, and it sounded like starting where we are. For the mom who has that tiny baby, or a couple toddlers and a tiny baby, you know what? If getting a shower that day is one of your 3 things, that is huge. And those moms should not feel bad about that, because I think we've all been there. I certainly have been there, where how many days passed that I didn't prioritize myself, of like the wonders that a shower makes you feel, right? And
Right.
at the end of the day, of all the rocking, all the nursing, all the changing, little bums, everything like that, what did I do? Well, at least I did such and such and such for myself. And being able to identify those 3 tangible things, or like, I loved the example that you shared today, and on a different podcast of you want to feel, I think it was a young mom wanted to strengthen her connections with her child. And so she was reading. So you just identified, read to your child. So when I'm laying in bed at night and I'm like, I'm a horrible mom, and feeling that guilt, they're like, well, actually, no, I went to the park with them and I read to them. And then, a third tangible thing, so that, again, it's the logic being like, hold on, emotions. Let's look at this. Let's step back and be like, we checked off those 3 things, and anything else is a bonus. So thank you for sharing that. One more question about self-care. Because I don't know, you seem like a powerhouse of a woman. How do you take care of yourself? I'm curious.
Well, this is probably not the answer that you want then, but I'm going to tell you what I do. I have a different probably viewpoint than self-care. And if you've listened,
hold on for a second.
When you've listened to, but basically the deal is self-care, no matter what it looks like for anyone, it's just the concept of rejuvenation.
Yes.
And making ourselves feel like less stressed, and what brings us feelings of like calmness or being like relaxed. So self-care, especially like during this time, is intentionally doing those things with purpose that create those feelings that I just mentioned above. So like we can all ask ourselves, like, what do we like to do, or what can we do to be able to experience those feelings, such as being relaxed or rejuvenated, or like whatever self-care does for you. So for me, it's very unusual, I think, but it's totally what brings it for me is like like watching TV, I'm going to fold laundry. When I work out, I'm on the treadmill or like the elliptical so that I can work out, I can read, I can listen to a podcast or catch up on Instagram, just kind of that multitasking. Because what I've noticed for me is that checking things off my to-do list and getting stuff done really makes me feel like less stressed. It makes me feel relaxed. So planning out my day really allows me to really have that intention, that focus. It keeps the overwhelm, those feelings of busyness. So planning out my day is a self-care. And then here's a really silly one. But a Saturday with no makeup, staying in my workout clothes, just getting my list done, that is self-care for me. But see, I recognize it's very opposite for most people. I mean, a lot of people, Saturdays like getting dressed up, looking really fancy, going out on the town or out to dinner with friends or a spouse. Yeah, I don't know. But, like lots of people, that's their self-care. So although, like I'm not a bubble bath taker or a reader or like a pedicure person, like I have my ways that help me feel less stressed, less rejuvenated, and just more me. And so just find what that is for you and then do them with intention. Like it's saying like, I am folding these clothes and watching this show as a way to relax. And if you're saying that to yourself, right? Or I'm eating this meal warm, that's finally warm, the cereal's not soggy, or my breakfast is warm because I want self-care. So almost like verbalizing it to yourself, like this is, especially right now, like we're like 24/7 with our families and people are like, I don't have time for self-care. Because maybe if you were the bubble bath or pedicure, like those maybe aren't happening anymore as far as going out into the world. But what are you intentionally doing where you're saying, okay, even this maybe Diet Coke that you've always had, but now it's like this Diet Coke that I'm drinking is like my self-care today, and really intentionally like telling yourself that. So you're realizing that you're getting it in the midst of it rather than it just being like glossed over real quickly. In the end of the day, you're like, I am exhausted, I'm tired, I didn't do anything for myself. And even when we do a lot for other people, we are doing little snippets for ourselves. Even if it's getting on Instagram, I'm going to get on Instagram for 10 minutes and I'm going to not say anything with my kids to my kids, and we'll just go to town or whatever, and knowing that Instagram time is your self-care for that 10 minutes.
That is exactly what I love it. But self-care for everybody looks different. But what's important is that they find it rejuvenating. Like what you said. I love how you said rejuvenation, getting more relaxation and becoming less stressed. That to me is what self-care is. And to intentionally do it several times a day of like, I've waited all day for my chocolate chip cookie. I'm going to microwave it and it's going to be nice and soft and I'm going to enjoy it, whatever that looks like. Or getting on the treadmill and being able to read and cross that off on the to-do list because that makes me feel intentional and successful. So thank you for sharing that. You are fantastic. I want to thank you so much for your awesome messages, really empowering, really uplifting. Where can we find you?
I spend most of my time on Instagram, so I'm organized with the ED, so organizedlife.coach. If you're Facebook, I am Ceri Payne Coaching. And then I also have a website, organizedlife.coach, that you can find all the same information. But also like you can, if you want more to talk to me or to kind of figure out, if you're interested in discovering like the best version of yourself, and how you can make time for that, I am currently offering 55-minute sessions that are free to help like women uncover their desires and just to create a plan to get there, whatever that desire looks like for them. And so on my Instagram.
Oh, hold on, you froze. Oh, there you are. There you are. On your Instagram. So
what a crazy connection.
What?
Said, what a crazy connection. It's been 5 days. It's nuts.
So I like how you said women uncover their desires. That is fantastic because a lot of us don't even know anymore what we're interested in. And so they can contact you through Instagram or your website or through Facebook for the 55 minutes, which is huge to be able to talk with you and get a better idea. Because a lot of people don't even know, they don't understand what life coaching is. And to understand what it is, how you can definitely help them to look what it is in their life that they want help with, that they need help with, and then go get it. That is fantastic. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here and everything that you've shared with us. It's just fantastic. I feel better. I feel empowered. So thank you very much.
Well, good. My job is done then. As one woman feels better. That's awesome. Thanks for having me, Stephanie. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much.